Alright, just like I suspected, there was a junction box in this wall right here. A big no-no, I'll say that again. These things need to be accessible in an attic space, crawl space, whatever, but never buried in a wall. I've seen, over the years where people will just wire net things in the wall. So do some homework on those. Another thing that was incorrectly done here is there's no connectors, Romex connectors in the box. The wires are just fed right in there. And they may not move, but they do have sharp edges. So these are the three that run to the switch box over there by the door. Here's the 12-3 coming in. These are the runs that run up to the light fixtures themselves, and I'm assuming that these are the home runs from the panel. But I've got two coming in here, and these are both on the same circuit, so I've got to figure this out right here. Both these lights are on the same circuit is what I mean. So I don't know why there's an extra cable in here. I'm going to have to do a little bit of homework on that, but I see no reason why both of these boxes could not have been installed in the attic like they should have been. There's plenty of cable to put them up there, obviously, and since they did these three runs, everything would have worked out. But let's just do another little quick examination here and pull one of these nuts off just to see if the wires are actually physically twisted together, and they should be. Nope. Hopefully you can see these wires are not twisted together. There's two reasons why they should be done. First is expansion and contraction. When this copper heats up and expands, these nuts can actually loosen up over time and potentially get off. Secondly, when a guy is coming in here like this, if the circuit happened to be hot and you pull the nut off, this thing can fly out one of these leads and ground itself out. So just any person watching this that's doing any DIY work, I highly encourage people to do things themselves, but do some homework. This residential electrical stuff is quite easy. There's only a few simple rules that need to be followed to put things together safely. So now I can pull all this out and move on. Alright, well that's what it's supposed to look like in a wall. Got everything sorted out. That extra wire that was up there was actually fed into the chandelier on the other side of this wall. So they were evidently in the attic at one point, but they were brought down into that box. So now we got light in the room right here. These switches will get changed out later. And then of course one in the closet. So coming down the home stretch now, it's just a matter of putting on the drywall, hanging it, and putting a corner bead right here. And this room will be finished as far as that part goes. Okay, well I mentioned I was sorting out the electrical and we had some dead receptacles, so I've been going around straightening that issue out, but I wanted to illustrate here exactly what I was talking about with using those holes right there. And there's a wire gauge here. You would strip it to whatever this length is and then press it down in this hole, and there's a piece of metal in here that is basically a spring, so it will lock it in. Over time, when these things expand and contract, they start arcing in there, and you can see this one's busted out on this side. It's busted out because I don't know if you can tell, but it's been hot right here and this thing has gotten brittle. So when I was taking it out, it just popped it. But I'm trying to get a shot in here. If you can look right down in front of my thumb, maybe you can see that black area in there. That's where the heat has been on this. And it is just a matter of time. It's quick to put them in this way, but they don't last forever like they should. So it's just a matter of time before these start arcing out, charring things up, your receptacles quit working, and you wonder why. So that's another reason, and a main reason, why you loosen up these screws, you put your wire around it, crimp it together and tighten them down. It's a permanent bond that way. And there's a lot more surface area in contact with that wire as well, instead of just a little point on that and then whatever it touches on the back side right here. So this one particular receptacle right here was a culprit for killing quite a few. And then I did have another issue. Let me show you this one that I discovered. Look at that, man. That thing is crispy. Melted. You know, this is a 15 amp. This had been replaced at some point. It's a newer receptacle, but they evidently maybe had something in here. You can see some hot arcing right there. That was drawing some super current through this, and it didn't trip a breaker or something, and it just got real hot. My guess is it would have been space heaters, since the furnace was inoperable. And a lot of these are on the same circuit, a lot of these receptacles, where they would have tried to put in space heaters. But this one I thought was pretty interesting. It's had some heat on this, maybe even a flame up, who knows. But it's been taken care of now, and like I said, whenever I go back and change all of them out to white, they'll be all fresh and new and properly terminated here around the screws. And it should be maintenance and service free for a very long time. So just a little warning there and illustrating on what can happen. Now I should note that this one actually was wrapped around the screws. It was not just put back in there. So this is kind of a separate issue on whatever caused this to get so hot and melt like that. But now the electrical is 100% wrapped up. I do have one more thing to show, which I thought was interesting, but I'll show that later on down the street. Okay, well, up the street came quicker than I thought. I'm going to go ahead and shoot the clip. You can see there was originally 2 switches in this particular wall. This one here was on this side, but there's a floodlight out up on the wall there, and that's what this one operates. But I could not determine what this one was operating because I couldn't find it. There's nothing in the house, and I thought maybe there was another light. Well, let me take you outside and show you what was going on out there. Alright, well, that particular line led up into this pipe running down the wall right here. And that looks to me to be about a 1-inch electrical conduit. It runs down in the earth. And it comes over here. Check out this loveliness. I find it odd, too, that this pipe right here is about 1.5 inches. So there may be a junction under the ground, I don't know. This is all coming out, but this receptacle just ran with Romex out here in the air. That's not a good thing to do. And then on the end of that pipe, there's this big cable coming in. It looks like 10 gauge perhaps. And this is just looped back into itself. And in the attic, it was just clipped off where it came out of that pipe up there. But this is the lead that was operated from that switch. They just had electrical tape on the end of it, and it was curled back and stuck in the pipe like that one. So that's why that switch is now removed, because this is not needed. This is coming out. This pipe, or this wire here, has been aborted anyway. This receptacle is coming out, but it will still be outside because there's not one out on the house, outdoors. So I'll dig down below the earth, clip that off. And somewhere in this arena, I'll sever this pipe, kill it underneath the ground as well, and have a receptacle box mounted here, outdoors, rain tight. My guess is perhaps maybe this old deck right here ran out, and this fed a hot tub. So it could have been 220 volts to the hot tub, and then maybe they did have a receptacle out here on the end of that switch, or it was wired into maybe the lights so they can turn the lights on in the hot tub before they come out and got in it. Who knows? But just another fine example of things that should not be, especially this pipe being open on the top. I'm sure that thing's full of water after all these years out here, just drops at a time, who knows. So that's the way I'm going to address that, and that will finalize all the electrical in the place, aside from, you know, new switches, new fixtures, new plates, new receps, things of that nature. Go ahead and give you a quick shot of the yard here. It's actually a very big lot. The back spans 2 properties. We're on a corner, so it's shaped a little bit odd, but there's a lot of help that it needs out here, a bunch of overgrowth, things like that. It will all be taken care of. Alright, well, we got the drywall finished in this portion of the hallway. Inside the linen closet. Pretty much wrapped up in this room, hanging the new. Got that wall patched in. Not much to look at, but hopefully you can see the shape that it's taking now. Of course, the closet. The only thing left to do on this particular portion is to hang the sheets on the other side in the master. Patch a couple holes in the ceiling where I moved some lights. Patch this hole back in and that hole.